Ja, aber diesmal ziehen wir es durch.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Klingt gut. Hm.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Das glaube ich nicht.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Nein.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Wieso? Da ist doch nichts. Also ein Portal hat das auch immer funktioniert.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer
Oh.
to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever.
Vielleicht bringt mich das Ding
Stanley
doch um.
can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Aber ich wollte noch mal mit dem Aufzug fahren.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Oder auch nicht.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ähm. Was? Ich bin jetzt leicht verwirrt. Knopfgeräusche. Warum sind jetzt hier die Credits? War es es jetzt? Habe ich jetzt verloren, gewonnen? Gibt es da so ein Ende oder? Bürouhr. Chefbüro.
See how it's impossible for the player to do anything in this room? Perfect example of poor level design, textbook mistake. It's the kind of thing you'd pick up on intuitively if you had even the most fundamental understanding of
They're
good and
throwing a
bad
surprise
game
party
design.
for him for all his
Of course,
button
you
pushing.
being you,
Does that
you'll
sound
probably
plausible
spend the
to
next
you?
hour trying to solve it. Here, I'm just going to make this easy on you.
Also schon alles. Ich wollte noch ein paar Versprecher hören. Aber ich kann doch jetzt nicht schon fertig sein, oder? Freiheitsende. Alpha-Version des Spiels. Ich habe das Spiel jetzt wirklich frühzeitig beendet, weil ich jetzt einfach in meinen Tod gesprungen bin. Mein Büro gleich 4-mal. Da steht Exit.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true
Spiel erneut beginnen.
choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Doch. Ich habe mich einmal schön zerquetschen lassen. Dann bin ich jetzt wieder im Büro.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oh, es ist mein Titel.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Nein, ich laufe nach unten und gehe zu meinem Auto.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him
Ja, das habe
wherever
ich auch
he
schon
went?
gefragt.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.